Anyway, Dan, it's been a long time,
It
and
hasn't.
I just I wonder how you been and how I haven't spoken to you since before the pandemic, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I like a lot of people, I haven't got incredible amounts of news from post-pandemic days. Both my movies came out in 2019, right before everything went down.
Yeah, yeah. And one of which I remember I was on the set of
Uh-huh.
um the last day of your shoot, I think. Well, it
Well,
probably maybe it wasn't the last day, but it was the last scene of the film.
last scene of the film in
Yeah.
14.
You probably
Uh,
don't shoot in sequence, being the thrifty independent filmmaker that you are.
I can't remember whether I shot it in sequence. I can't remember anymore what the day of the shoot was, but I can't remember a lot of things these days.
Oh, wow.
Um, but the situation I'm in probably actually would be, as far as filmmaking goes, would probably be the same with and without the pandemic, which is that I uh, I had a kind of a dream project for a long time, which is a little
Hmm.
more expensive than anything else I've done.
Hmm.
Expensive enough that I wouldn't necessarily think of self-financing. And I worked on that and I wrote it up, and actually some people were interested in trying to help me get money for it. But I don't think that's a go, or at least it's not immediately a go. And so the task before me is to like do another low budget film that I can afford to finance myself. And I do plan to do that, and I have a lot of notes, and I have begun a script.
Oh,
Uh, uh, but so all that to say, hasn't been any real filmmaking going on since last we spoke.
right. Well, I know, but I also just wonder how you are outside of your filmmaking uh, life.
I think I'm okay, not too bad.
Hmm.
Nothing tragic at any rate, which is probably a good criterion.
That is good. That's good.
As regards the human condition, probably a good criterion.
Yeah. And you're still in Clinton Hill or
Still in Fort Greene.
Fort Greene?
Yeah, been
Yeah.
here for 17 years now. Oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Um, well, I have moved. I don't know if you know, I moved out of the city.
I didn't know until you mentioned it recently.
Yeah. And that's been really great.
It has been.
Yeah, it has. It has. It was a good thing for me, and it's proven, yeah, it proved to be a good decision in multiple ways, personally, professionally, everything. So, and and still, and this sort of momentum of this thing keeps moving forward. And I just sort of, meaning the podcast or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But I do at moments have such joy and pleasure doing it,
You've been doing
and
it
it,
for a long
a
time.
really long time. And in fact, I just took a peek while we were setting up here, and you were definitely one of my earliest guests when it wasn't even in a podcast. It was still kind of like an internet radio show.
Uh-huh.
You
And was
remember
that
out of Bebox Radio? You remember that name?
I do remember that name. Is that
And
around the time of the previous movie, like 2012,
yes, it
2000?
was. It
Yeah.
was you, The Unspeakable Act. That's right. And
Wow.
it was your first. Well, it would have been in either May. I mean, the show that we did went up on June 6th. And I guess it was live, so it would have been June 6th. And I remember that day.
It's D-Day.
Uh, and I just remember it was the first. This is my memory of that moment, or rather that day when you came to that sort of pop-up makeshift studio that we had at the time, and that I was given the controls of the place for the first time. And I think I botched it, and you were really kind, and without missing a beat, you said, "Well, we'll just redo it,"
Uh-huh.
and it was very nice of you, and I remember that. But I also just remember Bam Cinema Fest, and I remember lots of other wonderful things during those days, and just having, you know. So
That was
yeah, it
that was
was.
a fun time for me because I think, I mean, not because that movie, I think, um, got out in the world a little bit more than my previous ones had. But also, that was a time when like independent filmmakers were like starting to connect with each other and hang out with each other. And for some reason, that's ebbed a little bit. I think the pandemic might have had something to do with it, or maybe we just all got older. But right around then, right around 2011, 12, I think I was like socializing a lot more with filmmakers and film people, and we all knew each other a lot more than had ever been the case in previously in my life. When I
That's
started
true.
making films, there was kind of a sense or kind of a truism, which may not have been true, that filmmakers were competitive with each other on a, especially on a cheap level, and that it wasn't necessarily a friendly scene. But right around in those days when everybody was connected via the internet, there was a lot of socializing. I remember Joe Swanberg was a person who brought a lot of filmmakers together because he was very social and very out there. And he introduced me to a bunch of people. I met others in other ways, but anyway, that was a social time among film people.
I think you're right. And it's interesting because I was thinking Brooklyn, the scene in Brooklyn, of course, Joe being from Chicago would not have, but
Was
there
not
was a pipeline.
he was
Um,
he was very good at knowing people and connecting people. So the city barrier seems as if it would be a lot, but in fact he connected me with New York people, and he just generally seemed to be a kind of an ambassador for
right.
low budget film, which I was great,
Yeah. And he was definitely,
Okay.
definitely somebody who came on also relatively early. And I guess there weren't too many podcasts or what I was doing out there anyway at the time. But you're right. I think that was a particular time. And it was maybe because, yeah, it was just one of those things where, um,
He's
probably
forever
through a
tagged.
number, huh?
He's forever tagged with the phrase mumblecore, which
Mumblecore.
is,
Right.
now we just say like independent film or maybe low budget film.
Yeah.
But he and Bujalski and a few other
Yeah.
people were forever associated with that term, which was very current in the last part of the 2000s and the beginning of the 2010s.
And I
Um,
don't know that they ever wanted to be because it was sort of a little bit felt like almost pejorative at times the way it was used. Like
it was used that way. I personally think Swanberg's a really good filmmaker.
mhm,
So I certainly would never use it in a pejorative way. I thought he was terrific and did a lot of really good films. Um,
mhm. Yeah, and he just he could figured out some sort of code or some sort of equation for that period of time. I'd say yeah, the first decade or so, maybe even going back a little earlier. Um, able to make all these films, then
yeah,
and was quite prolific in a way because he didn't get too bogged down in things that maybe some other filmmakers might get bogged down
I
in.
think that was very consciously what he wanted, was to make a lot of movies and not put obstacles in the way of that. Um, Unfortunately, or fortunately or unfortunately, because he's got his own other projects now, and I know he's like working on a TV series that
Hmm.
he is going to, I think, produce. But
Okay.
his directing output has definitely slowed down quite a bit. It was kind of he hasn't done anything for a few years, I don't believe.
Yeah. It's interesting to see the cycle, but you're right. I think what you mentioned, another reason could be because of just people aging, you know, things move. And we may not be conscious that there is actually quite a community going on, kind of a generation
Maybe
back,
there is.
and we're just not invited into the party.
Yeah,
But
I was always like two generations ahead of all the rest of them. So I thought to myself,
I
oh,
know, me
it's all
too.
one big party.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It was a special time, and I think there's probably a number of reasons why economically, in terms of where the industry was at, the kind of Brooklyn, just on a demographic and um, you know, developmental level of where Brooklyn was at the time, the New York independent film scene, the way it coalesced at that maybe, started in the mid late 90s or something like that, and it just sort of exploded some years later and it's maybe a natural cycle. A lot of those people that we were talking about have
yeah.
moved, into bigger production. Of course, episodics has been a the explosion of, episodic storytelling. I'm not going to use this content word. Let's say storytelling has really been a boon to a lot of those folks. And the sheer number of streaming platforms, et cetera, has really helped. And they're used to working much more economically too, which, I know that with the more episode like platforms, there's got to be less money. I'm just, which
Yeah,
means they have to rely on good storytelling because they don't
I
have like budgets for huge movie stars all the time. And
I've never like really dipped my toes into that world, even as a viewer. Like, so I don't know if people have gone off to some kind of streaming universe. I wouldn't even necessarily know it.
well, I'll give you one example, and that is Mark Duplass,
Oh,
who started off working with Andrew Bujalski and Joe Swanberg, I
uh-huh.
believe, and that whole crew in the, as we refer to them as the Mumblecore, the Puffy Chair and those earlier films. And he's now on an Apple series with my ex-wife. They both co-star in the series with Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon on the
Oh,
Apple TV platform.
that sounds interesting. Jennifer Aniston, Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon
Big
are,
stars.
yeah, and they're working
Well,
with
I think Duplass actually made it into the big time, but
good.
whatever, maybe he was particularly ambitious and astute, and
I just heard that Nathan Silver, who was one of the
yeah,
young filmmakers of that time that I hung out with a lot and haven't seen that much
yep.
recently, just heard that he, after seemingly having a low profile for a while, just a little splash at Sundance.
Hmm.
Haven't seen the movie, but I hear he got some attention.
That's good. I mean, you could see it in some of his more recent films. I mean, he was maturing,
Hmm.
where I don't know, for we could, I guess, talk about the maturing of a storyteller from the beginning of like internal playing with ideas that, for that are very inward, and then figuring out maybe more commercial, realizing as you grow and your needs change and you just mature for whatever reasons, and you start to realize that maybe your work needs to be more commercial. I'm reading Sam Wasson. Do you know the author?
I know the name, but
I'm reading his most recent book, which is about Francis Ford Coppola, and just like how striking it was. He went from, like, the early days of really just wanting to create his own community, and it was going to be completely artistic. And Lucas was in there too, by the way,
Mhm.
making experimental film. And then, within a certain amount of time, they just completely changed. They wanted to make things that were going to be big and seen by masses and be commercially successful. I don't, maybe,
I think it goes as a film watcher
yeah,
rather than a filmmaker. I feel like it
yeah,
goes all kinds of different ways. There are people that get
right.
better when they acquire some kind of focus and commerciality helps them. There's people that get worse and whose early stuff is the most interesting. And I don't know, like if there's some pattern to it or
Mm.
something that makes some people pull it together and other people lose it. If there's a pattern, it's beyond my ability to perceive it.
Well, there's some things that are kind of straightforward though, and that are where there are patterns. One is like, the way the American uber capitalist sort of approach to everything, and then there's the other countries like Europe, other continents and countries like Europe and Asia, where it's a very different way of making films.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
doesn't seem to be so top down.
yeah,
Bottom
for
line.
sure. I just don't know. I don't know if there's a magic formula though, even no matter what country you're in, a magic formula
Hmm.
for like making the path to true love run smooth. Making a filmmaker is like experience and the viewers experience better as time goes by.
Hmm.
There's as many people whose latest films are their best ones as there are whose first films are the best ones.
Fair enough.
I think. I mean,
Did,
yeah, matter of opinion, of course.
right. Oh, of course. Did you see Anatomy of a Fall?
Yeah, I did, and I liked it, which surprised me a little bit because I saw a previous film by Trier, and I don't think I didn't think as much of it,
Hmm.
but I did enjoy it. Thought it was good.
I thought so too. It's exciting when that is up there at the top with Barbie, I think, you know, and that's not a,
But it's okay.
yeah,
I see worse films than Barbie every day.
that's a very good point. Start rattling off some of those titles for me. No, I'm
No,
kidding.
I don't. Oppenheimer would be one, but
Yeah, it's
I
interesting.
don't
That's
want to
true.
throw
If
shade
you
at
can make it through the first half of it, I just, yeah, I'm a little confused by the amount of attention and accolade that film got because I thought it improved greatly in the second half,
Mhm.
or the second season. If you're if you found it a little tedious, but
Yeah,
I found the first half pretty tedious actually, and a very expository. Um, like to the point where it was really, yeah, challenging to watch. I don't know, but maybe I should
I,
have seen it in a movie theater.
I would definitely put myself on Team Gerwig as opposed to Team Nolan.
There you go. Um, well, what brought us together again? And this could be, I should have checked at this as well. Maybe this is the third time you've been on.
At least
It's
I don't
possible. Maybe third or fourth
possible.
over
I
the
don't remember.
years.
I just remember one, but maybe there were more.
No, there was another time.
There's a pattern here, which is that I don't remember a lot of things lately.
It's okay. It's not, fortunately for you, there's no test, there's no grading
Good.
involved
I'm
here.
glad to hear it.
But when I caught wind that the Metrograph Theater, which is a much respected and
Deservedly respected.
certainly by people who would self-identify as film lovers, uh, that it is an art cinema, but they also have a home version for streaming, which you can subscribe to for a very small amount of money.
Hmm.
And I think you mentioned $5 a month.
Yeah, I didn't know this until yesterday, until one of my friends told me about it, because the streaming goes with a membership,
Oh, I
and
see.
it goes with the same membership that gets you into movies cheaper.
I
Um,
see.
and it was
So what
50.
we're saying is if you want to support the Metrograph, or if you went pretty often anyway, even for selfish reasons,
Yeah,
you could buy a subscription to the Metrograph Theater. It would get you discounts for whatever films you bought tickets
yeah,
for. You get it as a membership discount. And on top of that, they throw in the streaming version of a streaming
it's
subscription
streaming.
as well. However, a la carte wise, you could probably just get the streaming version. And why wouldn't they offer that up? Because a lot of people don't work, rather live
They don't
within distance of the
have,
theater.
strictly speaking, I don't think they have an a la carte version in that it's just a membership or not, and whatever membership you get works for both. But what I found out
I
yesterday,
see.
which I didn't know until yesterday, that in addition to the $50 annual fee for their membership, which I have because I go there so often,
Yeah.
but you can buy a membership for $5 a month to the Metrograph, which is interesting
Oh,
because the discount on a ticket for a membership is $7. You pay, it's like $7 left if you're less for a ticket to the theater if you are a member. So in theory, it would benefit people to just buy a new membership every time they show up at the Metrograph and still
oh,
get
I
it.
see.
But for $5, you can watch this streaming thing for a month.
Okay. And so it's $5 a month. And you also, though, if you live in New York City or if you're visiting New York City, you can actually also go to get a discount on a ticket to the theater. Okay. All right.
The tickets are, I
Right.
think, $18 without and $11 with, which means that this $5 a month membership is worth getting every single time you go to the theater, no matter how frequent a film goer you are.
So they're
Interesting.
showing four films by Dan Sallitt,
They are.
right?
They're showing the ones that are distributed by Grasshopper, which means it leaves out uh, the film that I have that's distributed by Cinema Guild, The Unspeakable Act.
Right.
although actually the same person, Ryan Krivoshay, was the one who, took all of those movies. He worked for Cinema Guild and then he went to Grasshopper or started Grasshopper. But so they made the deal with Grasshopper, I think, because only the Grasshopper films are being shown. But those include older as well as newer ones.
I see. So Cinema Guild opted to keep The Unspeakable Act. Is that what happened after Brian left?
After Ryan left, they kept it.
Ryan?
I mean, it would be normal. It's not. I don't know if would not be normal for films to travel with the employees. So it was when Ryan was at Cinema Guild, it became a Cinema Guild film. It's still a Cinema Guild film. There's no particular reason that should change.
Right.
But then,
so, but he didn't. So when he went to Grasshopper, you just changed over to having them distribute your film. They never. None of the other films were distributed by any other companies.
None of them were. When The Unspeakable Act was the first one ever to have a distributor, if I'm not mistaken, and that was Cinema Guild. So Ryan was the first person that took me on, and then he started Grasshopper, and he wanted to distribute 14. And that was it was continuous with what had happened before, since it was the same person who was interested. And then he also took the new one, the short film Caterina. And
what is it called?
Caterina was the short film that I made after 14.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen it.
Oh, well, this is your chance. And he also decided that he wanted to distribute the earlier movies at that point.
That were never distributed in the first place.
Were never distributed in the first place.
Got it. Right.
So almost all the early ones. My first movie is like so technically challenged that people don't, queue up trying to make money off of it. But
right.
All the others he has, but Cinema Guild still has The Unspeakable Act.
So aside from this retrospective, if you will, at the Metrograph at home, is there a way people can see these films at some point, or?
I think that they're all available. I think they're if I should really know these things, but I do believe they're in various places. I think that they can be streamed wherever you stream movies for the most part.
Right.
I'm so
right.
ignorant.
This is not an exclusive. I understand.
Yeah, no. I should be able to like quickly tell people where to go find my movie, but I can't remember all the places that you could stream those films, but you can. You could stream them all.
Right. So you made 5 features?
I've made 5 features.
Yeah.
One of which is the early one that is not as easy to find because it's technically a little bit rougher, shall we say.
Right.
But yeah, 5 features and 1 short.
Can you ever see yourself going back to that first feature and
doing it again?
Not necessarily. Oh, I don't know, or if there's something you can work with there to.
I still like it. I can't.
Okay.
I can't see myself going back to anything and doing it again. That's a pretty tall order. Because
yet these filmmakers do that, but then they have staff sometimes too.
I hope someone pays them a lot of money to do it because you kind of like after spending years on something like that, you kind of feel as if maybe it's time to move on to something else. It's done. You kind of like you took the best years of your life and poured it into the thing already. I like that first movie. I enjoy it. I don't think it's a difficult watch, but the sound's a little iffy. The visuals are a little iffy. The whole thing is shot on 3/4-inch video back in the summer of 1985. And,
wow, 1985.
1985, when video had not yet matured, shall we say.
Oh, that's amazing. All right. And so tell me also what are the dates for this I'm calling it a retrospective because I don't have another term. It's the Dan Sallitt, like 4 by Dan Sallitt, Is
seems fine. Retrospective seems fine, except I don't know. I think it's for February. I think that they do their changes there monthly, and I believe that when they approached me, they talked about it being a monthly thing. So it could be that the movies go away on February 28th. What is this? 29th?
29th. It's a leap year.
It's a leap year.
When
Um,
you so you get an extra day there, Dan, in the shortest
an
month
extra
of the year. You
day.
get you
I mean,
got like people like African Americans always complain that they gave Black History Month the shortest month of the year.
I
You can relate to them now, and but although you get
I didn't expect this thing at all. So it seems like a bonus, and the extra day now. Geez, it's like um. But I think it's possible that these movies all vanish at
I
the
have it
end
right
of
here. We're going to
February.
clarify this. I want to I was testing you, and you're doing fair to Midland. I have to say you have to bone up a little. You get one more time to retake this exam, and then you get your license. It says here a New York-based filmmaker whose filmmaking approach owes more to acknowledged foreign masters, uh, Eric Romer,
Oui.
Maurice Piela,
Hmm. Good job.
and Mikio
Narus,
Mikio Narus. How do you pronounce that?
Narusa. Well, it's Japanese, so the
Narus.
accent,
I
the
don't know
accent.
that filmmaker. Okay.
Oh, you don't know Narusa?
The
Wow.
slim but exquisite body of work that Sallitt has created over the last 30 plus years, films of understated drama and enormous emotional insight. That's really lovely. Have won him a small, hey, wait a minute, that's not right, but ardent pack of admirers, one of which includes me, I might add. Among them, Adam Chartoff, Arnaud Desplechin, one of my favorite French filmmakers, one of the best kept secrets in American independent cinema. That's a bit of a backhanded compliment, but we'll take it, right?
I've always gotten those, and I accept them as good things. Poor Mr. Desplechin, I wonder if he is like forever linked with me in my own publicity, and it's not because I pushed it. Like when I made my first movie, I think, or my second movie,
Hmm.
um, Bill Crone, very good film critic and a friend of mine from Los Angeles, knows Desplechin and sent him either one film or two films, I can't remember. And Desplechin wrote him back and said something nice about me.
Hmm.
And Bill told me, and I said, "Can I use this as publicity?" Because I didn't have any other thing like that.
And there's not tons of other publicity out there. So
There
what
weren't
you
enough.
have is going to be, yeah, is going to be attached
That
to you
was it.
for till somebody
So poor
writes,
Mr. Desplechin may never have even realized. I think Bill said to me, "Don't worry, it's fine." I never talked to him, I don't think. And
well,
so I started like putting this in some publicity, and then everybody else who worked with me continued to
hmm.
use it. I didn't personally insert it in the Metrograph publicity. That just happened. And I hope that I know Desplechin does not like resent me for having appropriated his name so often. I mean,
Well, he didn't see the first film, did he?
he didn't see the first one, and I
Yeah.
don't even know if he's seen the later ones. I think that was at the time of either at the time of Honeymoon or the time of All the Ships at Sea. So that was all he had. And I was very grateful and happy because I really admire his work. Esther Khan is one of
Me
my
too.
favorite films.
Which one?
Esther Khan is one of my favorite movies.
Oh, I don't
I
know
like
this
a
one.
lot of Desplechin, but I love Esther Khan. It's an absolute favorite of mine. Um, anyway, it would be mortifying if he felt that I was using his name without sufficient permission. But
I don't think it would be impossible to reach him. So I'm just saying, if you put your as little effort into it,
yeah, I think
but
I want.
it's also nice not to know sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, he's got other things going on, I'm sure.
I think your guess is pretty a good guess because it says on the Metrograph website, it says leaving March
Ah,
1st.
so
And
that's
you're four by that's the way they put it. They don't put it like beginning, or maybe they do as well. I don't know. But
plain
anyway,
enough. Plain enough. That's what's happening. It's
yeah,
February only.
yeah. But Mubi, which is another streaming
Hmm.
art house streaming platform, let's put it that way, has a revolving, constantly revolving, right? So every 30 days you have a brand new, well, every day one falls off and there's a new film
Really?
added. Huh?
I didn't know that. It's interesting.
I thought so. I think they probably still do that. I'm not sure.
You're
And there are
probably
themes in there too. They will have themes, but each day there's a new film added. So by the end of a month, it's completely been replenished with. So if you, every 30 days, if you go back, there'll be brand new films, but you only, the most The oldest one you'll have only that day to see it, if
I
you
wonder
that
if
makes
it's the
sense.
same thing at the Metrograph.
I
I
don't
wonder,
think so. I don't think so.
some
But it's
people
very
can.
unique and an interesting way to do it. And I always liked their selection. They've had good programmers at that other place too. But of course, Metrograph was built and created and founded by a programmer. So
Mhm. I think I think the programming has changed. Some of the people
oh
doing the programming have changed
yes,
recently. I do believe that Jake Perlin's not there anymore, and I
yes, that's correct. Right.
think he was the dominant programmer for a long
That's
time.
right. Yeah. And he was a camper. I think
Yeah.
at where I was a summer camp counselor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a good guy, and he did a heck of a job with that
He,
theater.
it's thanks to him. I mean, people like that, we have art cinema in New York City. Can you imagine? Karen Cooper
Hmm.
and, only a handful of other people.
Now, I think I'm not sure if there's one person doing the Metrograph now. I don't. Maybe not. Maybe
No,
there.
I think there's a few. Yeah. I
Yeah.
had one woman on my show not that long ago, actually, because they were doing a series. Do you know the editor, Michael Taylor?
Michael Taylor? No, I
Yeah.
don't.
Okay. He's a kind of like, yeah, he's got his background in editing indie films and
What are some of his credits?
what credits. But the reason I brought him up is because he was doing an editing. He presented the Metrograph with this idea of like a series about of like the theme being film editing and film editors. And so they would do a different film with an established editor, and then do a talk, a Q&A and the whole thing. And it was like a series. So they had an ongoing, like once a month or something. And he was involved in that. But
Let
he does a lot of commercial stuff these days,
him
I
up.
think. But you might recognize him just from having seen him around, at things over the years.
Is he a moviegoer?
Yeah, yeah. Um, so just a few of his things he worked on.
Say it again. The
The
Farewell?
Farewell, Skin. Do you know that one?
I don't know if I do.
Guy Nativ's film.
Oh,
The Mountain.
uh-huh.
I'm sure you know. Yeah, I think he's edited a few of Rick Alberson's films. Do you know Rick Alberson?
I know who he is. I've seen some of
Yeah,
his movies.
yeah. So he has relationships with different youth in Oregon. Um,
Mhm.
Elvis and Nixon, that was a good one. A Kid Like Jake. I don't know. There's tons and tons of films.
I wonder if your viewers are interested in seeing us look
Probably
people
not. No.
up
There's.
on the
I'm going to
eye.
be speaking of editing. I might do a little. Just. But anyway, and what was great was that we did a segment because Michael's been on a bunch of times, and he brought on damn, what's her name? First name? It was Osteen. What's the editor of The Graduate? Osteen. Bobby Osteen is the wife, so she's the widow of the editor.
Sam Osteen was an editor.
Sam. Thank you, Sam
Yeah.
Osteen. His widow, who's an editor and a teacher and an author. She came on with Michael, and a programmer from the Metrograph, one of their programmers. So because she was programming that series with Michael.
Uh-huh.
So that's why I brought it up in the first place. And that was a great episode because I got so many great stories about Sam, and that was a personal treat.
You'd
Like,
see him quite a lot back in the 70s, 60s.
yeah, the most famous, of course, anecdote being, and you probably know this, is that they and the bus at the end, where
Oh, the graduate.
Hoffman,
Uh-huh.
what, they didn't know, like he forgot to call cut, and Mike
He being
Nichols.
Nichols, not Sam Osteen.
Mike Nichols, yeah,
Uh-huh.
forgot to, and I think it was like Sam was in the bus with them for some reason, and I'll send you the link to this because it was a very good episode talking about that. It's been a while since I've listened to it, but
It's an uncanny shot that makes you think there should be some weird story behind it.
yeah, they meant to cut. They were expecting a cut and they didn't get it, and so they just sort of sat there awkwardly and then end up kind of
Uh-huh.
doing what they do.
And they
Kind of funny
ended
enough.
up kind of casting doubt on the institution of romance. But
Yeah, you don't always want to know the
hard.
stories.
Yeah,
But isn't
yeah.
it interesting how two of the from Dustin Hoffman's most famous films Ended on a bus, more or less.
Oh, what's the other one?
Midnight Cowboy.
Midnight Cowboy. Okay, yeah, he ended on the bus.
I mean, almost, it was
Right.
basically the penultimate scene, but,
Yeah,
very different bus ride.
I've seen The Graduate a lot more than I've seen Midnight Cowboy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I've seen them both countless times. So,
Um,
but anyway, I digress. I'm sorry. But okay, so Forward by Dan Sallitt running this month right now. You can go over from this conversation and reunion to watching these films by the great Dan Sallitt. I'm excited to have learned, if nothing else, that you have a new film in the early stages in mind, and maybe in 2025 we'll see something late 2025, or if we're lucky. I know these things take time. Maybe 2026. We'll see. We're in no rush.
Take especially a lot of time if you're stymied on various fronts, as I seem to have been lately.
What's that?
I said it takes an especially long time if you have all kinds of like problems and difficulties and doubts along the way, which seems
Oh,
the case right now.
that plague some filmmakers. Not
I've
referring
got
to
no,
yourself necessarily, but
I have no doubts about the expensive project. I would love to do it. It's a dream project. But then the
yes.
cheaper ones that I'm more likely to do first are things that I'm kind of like kicking around and wondering about right now. And I've started one of them and I've got notes for the other one. But so I was thinking more of that. If the dream project ever gets done,
Yeah. No, I know. I was
there'll
referring
be no
to this
doubts.
other one that you were in the early stages of the screenplay and or
Mhm.
script at this point, I guess. And
Yeah.
oh no, the screenplay. And then if I know this other project is something that we'll see if to come to fruition at some point during but if you can get this one during the second Biden administration, I'd be very happy about it.
From your lips to God's ears.
Yeah, tell me about it. Well, thanks for doing this, and for let's congratulate ourselves for pulling this together so quickly.
Yeah, well, it's not too formidable a thing to pull together, but
No, it's true.
it's
It's
nice.
true. And well, it's fortunately, even though we didn't go into great details about the films, I have seen. Well, I didn't see the short, but I'm looking forward to
You
that.
haven't seen
But I
Caterina?
have seen, but I have seen all your, at least three of your features. So three of the five features.
Caterina was made exclusively because Agustina Munoz, who is one of Matias Pinheiro's actresses,
Hmm.
and who I acted with actually in one of Matias's films. It exists solely because she wanted to make a movie with me, and
That's
I'm
wonderful.
flattered because she's so wonderful. And then she kept mentioning it, and then she said, "I'm coming to New York at a certain point, and maybe we can do it then." And I would
What are
not,
you not going to say no?
I would not say no to Agustina Munoz, who I
Oh,
adore. So
that's
that
nice.
is 100% why that movie exists.
All right. So if you're out there and if you're in art, like in European cinema, and you want to make a film with Dan Sallitt, he won't say no to you. Just give him a little notice. That's all he
Yeah.
asks. Uh, and by the way, you brought up at the beginning of our conversation the Mumblecore guys and Bajowski, and I worked on his most recent film.
Josky's most recent?
Yeah, that
No,
was fun. He shot part of it up where I live here in the Hudson Valley,
oh
and
wow.
they needed the producer and I are friends, and he needed a location scout, so to speak, and so I was already up here, and I said, yeah, I could do that. Had a little bit more spare time during those days, and then when they shot this on the location up here that we ultimately agreed on, I got to work on the set, and the Andrew and the rest of the above the line crew were all remote.
Oh,
I
really?
don't know if you saw it there, but be interested. It's available. It's out there on also streaming. It premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival. We got to go to that. It was pretty nifty to see my name on an Andrew Bajowski film, being a fan.
It premiered at this last Tribeca?
No, the one before,
One before.
2022.
Has it been out in theaters?
Yes.
Boy, I missed that one.
Well, it was very brief. It was probably only for qualifying. I mean, it
Oh,
was among the actors in it was Jason Schwartzman and Lily
uh-huh.
Taylor, who's up here.
Oh, wow.
She was up here part of the time. So it was a really, and I worked on the scene with her. That was fun because I've always loved her.
Yeah, yeah, she's wonderful.
Yeah. So I'm saying all this to let you know that when you're ready to go, you can always rely on me because I like your
Okay.
filmmaking style,
and you'll be
I'm
happy.
available when
Okay.
needed. So you can always rely, and
Okay.
I work really, really, really cheap. So there's that.
Duly
Uh,
noted.
yeah. All right. Well, Dan, let's stay in touch regardless.
Okay.
All right.
Nice to be on the show again.
Yeah. No, thanks for doing it. I appreciate it. It's good to see you.
Take care.
All right. Have a good weekend.
You too.
All right. Bye bye.